No question 冇問題 ，just try， 即係想試下黐手。
嗱，黐手咧就譬如佢而家黐手，因為佢將啲力喺呢度鬥起我。
You are using the forearm to use the force。
嗱咁樣。
To bring up his arm, then it's very hard for you to do so. You press him, you press him.
我喺呢度咧。
If you use force in this way, copying you.
因為我想呢度頂高你，又唔夠你大力。
Then he's not powerful as you are, not strong enough. Then have to use another way. You press him.
我啲力唔會喺呢度。
My force is not at that point. There's no force there in the forearm.
咁個中間呢度唔使用力，咁樣一擺喺度。
Use my center towards you.
嗱，如果喺呢度
，If my force is in my forearm, you press me.
如果我喺呢度，定唔起啦。
There is no way to move you, but not in the forearm.
咁樣即係話唔好同人鬥力量。
That's why we say not to compete with force with your opponent. Just rising up the spine and rotating the shoulder joints. Yeah.
嗱，佢而家係咁樣。
If he's not tired, is it okay for him to talk a little bit about the higher levels of Chisa, maybe the traps, and then how Chisa can relate to fighting?
哦，師傅，如果你唔攰咧，可以繼續咧，就可以講一啲高級啲嘅黐手，啲方法啊咁樣。
黐手咧就最重要咧，就係一隻手運用兩種力量，呢個好高級嘅，唔係容易做得到嘅。即係只要冇少少耐性嘅人咧，即係冇耐性，要有好專心、好有耐性嘅人先練得到。
For advanced 黐手 which is really hard to attain, is one arm you can use two kinds of force at the same time.
因為係冇速成嘅。
You really need patience and persistence to attain and get hold on this. There's no shortcut.
咁我哋個隻手咧，嗰啲關節一活動咧，就每一個關節喺度獨立運作。
When we move, every joint operates on its own separately.
咁就一隻手造成兩個方向唔同嘅力量向對方進攻。
One arm can launch at least two directions of forces or power towards the opponent for an attack.
嗱，呢啲咧就要一個做到相當程度，先至慢慢去領略，慢慢去學。
This need a quite good level before you can understand.
嗱，咁啊希望喺呢度做教人嗰啲可以出嚟試啦。
Here, who are the instructors here? You can try. Come up here and try.
Me.
將我哋叫做係一隻手做兩種力量。
So one arm, two kinds of power.
呢隻手咧就由呢個關節就操縱呢度。
The elbow is being controlled by the shoulder joint.
咁呢個關節操縱咧就向佢呢度進攻。
Towards his center line.
嗱，呢個咁樣向佢進攻。
Is attacking him.
呢隻手咧就由呢個。
The elbow joint is controlling the forearm.
就令呢隻手又向佢呢度進攻。
Making it at the same time towards the center line.
嗱，咁啊當然再好啲就加埋一路向一路咁樣進。
So more effective, you add movement.
叫做簡單，但係都好難做㗎啦。
This is the basic thing. Now the elbow towards him and the forearm at the same time towards him, but separately. This kind of power is very hard to resist. Anyone?
兩種力量，好啦，正話講
Two kinds of power.
嗱，我試呢個，呢隻手向你呢度進攻。
Again, the elbow
進攻你。
go aiming the center
呢
line.
隻手咧又向佢進
The
攻。
forearm also going the center line.
咁啊到呢只啦，呢隻手
Then 伏手
向呢度。
The elbow towards that part.
咁呢個關節就令呢度。
And the elbow joint turning the forearm
好啦。
in this way.
Come on, Sam.
Making it sound.
呢個向
Elbow there.
呢度。
Elbow
呢個。
towards there.
唔喐呢個咧就係咁樣。
If not moving the forearm, it looks like
一喐呢個
this.
喐埋呢個。
Then at the same time,
嗱咁啊，呢個喐呢個，
the elbow turning the forearm in this way
喐呢個加呢個，啊咁樣。
at the same time. Two kinds of power.
咁呢個好難做嘅。
It's very hard to do this.
That's just elbow and wrist, or is that shoulder? There's no shoulder in that?
Shoulder turning the elbow.
Oh, shoulder turning. Okay.
Sorry, what turns the wrist? Shoulder to the elbow? Elbow to wrist.
佢個膊頭度轉個手踭，
係
咁嗰個碗係咪喺邊度轉去
個碗喺呢度轉，呢前臂咧就呢度轉，
？The forearm is by the elbow joint.
Okay.
膊頭轉呢個手踭。
The shoulder joint turning the elbow, but separately.
嗱，個手踭係咁樣轉嘅。好多人咧好中意，好怕人哋遞隻手出嚟，俾人托住個手踭。
Usually it's hard to sustain force
呢個
pushing
手踭我由
the
膊
elbow.
頭喺度轉住落。
But if I turn it using the elbow joint,
咁啊呢個就係好強嘅。
it's very strong.
一轉呢度，我呢
Turn in this way, then my forearm goes forward,
又咁走。
or in this direction.
More advanced. ，lift up his arm. Yeah.
佢咁就頂住，好多人
push
咧一咁就怕佢頂。
Usually it will be in this way.
但係佢
Can't stand it. But using this kind of force, you will result in this.
，Nearly had him there.
May I ask, when did you feel the flow of chi? Did it happen
When?
as an instant, or was it a gradual process?
佢話師傅你感覺到你好氣係突然之間感覺到啊，定係慢慢會感覺到嘅？
慢慢會感覺
Gradually
慢慢
Gradually,
Not
bit
like-
by bit,
not
one
instant.
step at a time, not one day.
即係慢慢多啲咁樣。
慢慢多啲
Yes, gradually accumulating.
Also,
You don't feel that.
喺呢度入。
okay, thank you.
小念頭除咗啲招式之外咧，有一個最基本嘅原則，就係我哋啲關節要獨立運作啊。
With Silim-Tao, the principle Silim-Tao, apart from what he just taught, there's another principle is the joints has to operate separately.
嗱，既然佢問佢出嚟，我就試下，我亦唔用力嘅俾你睇。嗱，你係呢個係右手好力啲啦。
You're right-handed, right? Yes. More powerful than
嗱，
right-handed.
咁樣，如果我呢個攤手，
His hands out. Yes.
你出嚟撳
You
我。
press down strongly.
嗱，如果我咁出力咧，就唔夠你大力。你而家知
You
嘅
can counter, you can feel
如
that.
果你大力撳我，
Press strongly.
嗱，我咁樣唔夠你力啊！
Sifu use this
嗱
method.
嗱，咁樣唔
He
夠
can
你大
counter
力，
him
因為你大力過
because
我
you're
好多。
physically stronger.
好啊，嗱，我企好個姿勢，
Now with proper stance,
擺好個單手，你出力撳
proper shape, you press down.
嗱，咁樣咧，我就獨立運作，我先運作呢個關
Operate the
節。
shoulder joint first,
再嚟加一個跟住咁樣第隻手出去，你又咁用。
Then the hand is delivered forward.
咁你有冇揾過？我而家譬如你模仿到嗱，我而家做呢啲動作，睇你模仿到先嚇。我咁樣擺喺度，呢個手一遞出嚟，一個攤手，模仿到先。
Could you copy 師公先？攤手 ，shoulder joint first. Separate operation. Not quite.
咁有冇你個朋友嗱？唔係我做到，我能夠令你做得到。有冇你揾你個朋友出嚟，大家試
？You choose one to be your partner. You use the same way to press.
你正話冇用力，我用力都揼得起。
You were not using force pressing.
你頭先玩到
你。To stop.
嗱，我你睇嗱，你睇下
really use force to stop.
一等呢個就係一等。你睇你撳佢試下。
So you use the same strong force to press now to stop it. Okay. Don't allow you to get it. Okay. Smash it, bro.
嗱，佢而家就係比較有力。嗱，我有做一個唔使力嘅姿勢，你升起直頭。
師公
放鬆呢度。
No need to use force and still deliver.
係啦，你再撳佢，放鬆呢度，停喺呢條腳骨，停喺呢條。
It's fine.
放鬆呢度。
Relax
隻手咧就唔好咁形，就攤手，
攤手 shape。
你而家咁緊，嗱，呢度一跌，呢個手踭落去，呢個咁樣。一跌呢個呢度遞出去，呢度有咁遞出去，咁啦。
How do you feel? So much stronger. And this is not very light. Yeah, that's what it is. 你覺得呢度好輕？
係啊，佢覺得好輕，冇仔出嚟，冇仔出嚟。
你就覺得好大。You want to try? Oh, yes.
你試下啦，你
change roles.
你撳佢。嗱，我喺呢度捉唔使遮嘅，頭你用呢隻手啦，捉呢隻手，係唔使我行嗰邊做嘅，係。佢想試邊個想試？
佢想試，佢想試第二。
你睇你咁嘅。嗱，而家咁樣一鬆咗呢個。正面上，又放曬呢個上呢條脊骨，頂上呢個咁樣呢隻手就咁樣，呢隻手咁樣，好似個攤手咁樣，呢度有放，呢度放係，喺度，嗱咁樣，嚟啦。講下頭先個感覺，大家
Try to describe your feeling to the audience.
Describe the feeling. There's quite a lot of force in the arm in the beginning, even though I'm trying to think about relaxing and trying to think about relaxing forward. Something happens where Sigung was touching me, where it just emptied, my arm emptied, and it just expanded. It just expanded by the thought, by the thinking of not the just.
一出佢，你覺得個彈開就擴張。
佢嘅感覺同相同啊。
Are you similar?
Yeah, very similar. I think I was doing it before. I was trying to do it with force. I want to see them pressing here. Something here, just the arm move as though it's just floating out very naturally. No power. You felt like you were just owning the space, just floating into the space.
And when I was feeling it with him as well, like with the force, I felt your arm empty.
佢撳佢嘅時候咧，都係感覺到佢飄緊出嚟。佢撳。
Money hole.
So they teach us to use the rotation of the joints instead of the actual muscles to control movements. Does Sigun have like extra awareness of those rotation like muscles? Does it feel like just a normal movement?
Sorry? Again?
So instead of using like a muscle movement, meant to do like a rotation.
Yeah.
Does he have extra awareness of that kind of movement? Is it
extra awareness
of the joint? Like
of the joint. 佢話師傅頭先講就唔用肌肉，用關節轉動，係咪需要對有能夠有特別嘅察覺到自己啲關節咧，先做到呢樣嘢？
特別鬆弛，啲肌肉特別鬆弛。
Is it still based on you are able to relax your muscles？
好似頭先我講，你一路衝上去，衝到由呢一度去指揮啲關節活動，你就做。
So if you can have your spine rising up to the top, if you attain that, then you can control your body to use this kind of joint rotations instead of muscles.
平時用你個思考，用呢個前腦去解決問題。你解決唔到自己嗰啲關節活動問題。
Otherwise, when you think, it's usually using the forehead, the brain, in the front to think, and there's not some way to activate the joints.
So he doesn't use his brain to like.
Not this brain, not this brain. This brain.
It's the back part of the brain. It's not the front part.
佢話師傅你唔係用個腦去控制嘅。
係啊，唔係用個腦去控制嘅。
Not using the cognitive brain. It's another part of the brain.
Getting deep, yeah. So he's using the back part of the brain through rising up the spine. So what he was asking is the feeling to Sigung, the feeling of when he uses the Nim Chat, the feeling of the movement is different, the awareness of the movement is different than everyday life movement.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what he was asking.
哦 ，OK， 佢話師傅，當你去用關節去運作嘅時候，你個感覺係咪同你平時日常生活咧，你用嘅方法係唔同，所以感覺會唔同咧？
唔同嘅。
Yes, it's different.
So most people that have been following Chu Shong Tin's teachings and or if you've been following this YouTube channel, in the last couple of years I've put up videos talking a lot about joint rotation. So Sigung used to talk about being able to utilize the joints in a different way than a muscular way. And in one of the videos I made, we mentioned that he said that he believed he's using the ligaments rather than using the muscles to move, giving him the control, individual control to the joints. Now, one of the things that's important to highlight in that last clip is that he said if you try to utilize the joints, if you try to rotate the joints without relaxation, so if you're tense or without using the right intention, using the right part of the brain, then it's just going to be a muscular movement, you know. So if you hear this idea and you try it, but you haven't relaxed to such a level and you haven't obtained a kind of state through Silim Tao, you will still be using muscular effort and it won't work. You won't be able to utilize or rotate two joints at the same time. So this is an interesting thing. When you can rotate the joints, let's say, I mean, we've got 300, over 300, well, I think 360, so over 300 joints in the body, of which I'd say, you know, I'm just guessing here, but let's say 60 or 70 are the big ones that we can use, the spine, the limbs, the fingers. So if we are able to individually rotate them, so we'll take the arm as an example. Say we're doing this Wu Sao movement, right? So in this movement, the shoulder joint is turning. So there's three bones. If we just look at from my wrist to my shoulder, there's three bones. There's the one bone here, which is controlled by the shoulder joint, and there's two bones in the forearms. One of them is controlled by the rotating joint here, and the other one is the hinge joint in the elbow. So the elbow has two small joints, and there's a shoulder joint, three bones, right? So if you're able to utilize the joints properly, the shoulder joint will be able to rotate this bone, so the tip of the elbow will come down, controlled by the shoulder joint, and then the elbow joint, let's say the hinge joint, is able to control the forearm. So this joint keeps the elbow going down. Simultaneously, as that's happening, this one is turning the wrist back. So there's two, let's say, directions of force, one going this way, one going that way. Now if you're unable to do that, even if you're thinking about turning from here, if you're unable to relax and control the joints individually at the same time, the movement will just become a pull. You know, this is why whatever Sigung did, or what people that can rotate their joints correctly, it doesn't feel like a push or a pull. not to them, nor to the person that's holding them, that's feeling the force. That's why it's very hard to feel how you can stop them, because it's not a one-directional sort of pressing or pulling force. You know, if it's a one-directional force, like when you're holding a door closed, it's quite a blunt force. You know, so if you're strong enough, or if you're stronger than the person, you just apply force at that contact point where you feel you apply force directly against their incoming force, right? That one direction. Whereas this way, there's more than one direction. So if you're pulling back, let's say if you're resisting Seagul's arm as it was coming back, if you're pulling back, if he moves the elbow down, there's a kind of downward force. And if you change your force to try to stop that downward force, at the same time, this one's turning this back. So there's actually two directions of force happening at the same time. And it doesn't feel like he's pulling you in. It doesn't feel one directional. I hope that makes sense. And this is why the reason of sort of, if you're not relaxed enough, you won't be able to, you will use muscles anyway. For that reason, I usually just try to get students to just relax completely and move as effortless as they can. So like for, say with Wu Sao, Fok Sao, pick a straight line and try their best to relax as much as they can, loosen up the muscles, and then after some time they will start to observe that the joint is starting to rotate, rather than going in there and saying, okay, I'm going to rotate this one, then I'm going to add that one, and really sort of getting that linear focus of just tunnel vision focus of just this area, that area, trying to do that. This, in my opinion, creates tension. So we can use this lesson that Qigong has given us about individual joint rotation. We can use it as a signpost rather than trying to go, okay, I'm going to, for the next year, I'm just going to focus on rotating this joint and that joint. Use it as a signpost that when you're relaxed enough, if you observe how you're moving, you'll be like, oh yeah, I can feel that I can individually control. You can observe that you can, you know, the joints are free moving and you can individually control them simultaneously. And once you can do that, then once you're at that level where you can start to rotate more than one joint at the same time, then yeah, movements are very effortless yet very powerful. Like for example, if we pick this is a good one to pick, so from Chum Q, the latching movement from Chum Q. If we have a look at it, shoulder is rotated, we've got one rotation, shoulder is rotating the tip of the elbow down, right? So one, and then the second one, it would be this one, so it will be the hinge joint in the elbow joint. The third one will be the rotating joint in the elbow joint. Then we have the wrist, you know, we have joints in the wrist, and then we have the hand and the fingers, you know, so how many different rotations is there all simultaneously? Whereas if you're not that relaxed to be able to move in this way, if someone's sort of resisting against you latching, you would just use that one directional pulling force. And if you're stronger than them, or you have a better connection with the ground, you'll be able to sort of pull them in. But that's using strength. Whereas if you can do this way properly, you could stand on one leg, so no stance, arms completely straight, as the guy's holding your arm trying to resist you, you could effortlessly bring them in and the whole body will come forward. Yeah, this is demonstratable. You know, we can demonstrate this to show that that it's a different type of force, a different feeling when someone rotates their joints compared to if someone's just pulling, using a technique to just suddenly pull or push. The way that you can start to test this, I guess, is you just pick a very easy movement. For example, pick Wu Sao, where we're talking about the coming back movement. So ask your partner to hold up and get them to hold strong. You know, hold up, push upwards against the elbow, so stopping you from rotating the shoulder joint, stopping you from bringing the elbow down. With one hand they're doing that. With the other hand they are pulling back at the wrist. So they're giving you two kinds of forces at the same time, two directions of forces. Now if you try to it's quite interesting, you know, if you try this, you'll be able to apply force to the elbow, but your partner will tell you that this one is quite weak, it's quite sort of floppy relaxed. And then as soon as you try to bring this one back, the elbow will stop coming down, so the shoulder will stop rotating. It will show you that if you're not relaxed at that level, it's very difficult to do both simultaneously. It's either this one or this one, and therefore what the opponent will feel is a pulling force, either pulling this way from here or pulling that way. Whereas for the ones that can relax, if you can continue this going down, so continue the shoulder joint rotating while that's going on, adding this one, but actually it's not 1, 2, they have to happen at the same time, you know, but you can try it as this one, keep this one, and then add the other one. If you're able to do that, then the opponent will feel like they can't stop you. and they'll feel like you're not pulling them. They'll feel like they'll feel that joint rotation sort of power. So yeah, you can test this out with some of the easier movements. Partner up and test this out with some of the easier movements, and then practice. In your own practice, when you're practicing Seal and Tao, don't worry too much about that, of this joint, that joint, which joint is moving. Just stick to very fluid, smooth movements, as effortless as possible. Keep Tai Gong and that rising up feeling. And in application, you can have a play with, locally trying to rotate this, rotate, just to get a better understanding of your ability in controlling the joints. And then throughout time, then when you start doing kicking, because joints are joints, so we're talking about the arms here, but once you kick, it's the same thing. So hip joint rotates, knee joint, the hinge joint, so it's exactly the same thing. That way you can start to do 1-inch kicks, so hold your leg up and kick from 1 inch away and get that kind of power. And then later on, when you start at a higher level, when you're up to the third form, BLG, then then the actual spine is rotating itself. So we have all the vertebrae in the spine, the movements of BLG this way and this way. If you can start to individually rotate the spine in that way without muscles, if you use muscles with your spine and try to rotate against someone holding, I'd recommend against that, because you will hurt, you'll pop something out. It's actually not safe to muscularly use the spine like that. That's why they say when you lift something up, keep your back straight and use your legs. Actually, when you can utilize the spine in that way, in the way that we're talking about, individual rotation of each vertebra, then you can lift a very heavy box with your rotation of the spine. You don't have to keep your back straight, or if someone pushes as hard as they can on your chin, just with your neck, you can rotate against them and get that kind of power, so later on. So what I'm saying is, first start with the arms, because it's more familiar. We use the arms more in our daily lives. Then as you get an idea of what we're talking about in this individual rotation, you can start to apply it or witness it with the legs, later on with the spine. And then as you start to do this more and more, after hours and hours, after years, then you'll start to notice that you're actually using your body in a different way in everyday life as well.